a situation as a leader where you needed to speak up for yourself, but there was something preventing you from doing so? In this video, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the biggest mistake that leaders make when they are speaking up for themselves. And I want you to pay very close attention to this video if you are a woman in leadership or perhaps you are a man in leadership, because I want to know if you have ever felt like you have made this mistake before. I'm going to share with you what this mistake is and hopes that you do not make it, because I've made this mistake many times and I don't want you to make it. And then I'm also going to share with you a strategy to help you not make this mistake and still be able to speak up for yourself, but still be able to maintain some of your authority as a leader as well. Now, if this sounds like something you are interested in learning more about, then you absolutely want to watch this video until the end, because we're going to have a really great discussion about it. Now, if you're watching this portion of the video, you are more than likely watching the replay, and I'm so grateful that you decided to spend a few moments out of your day with me today. This is a live video. Therefore, there is typically a point in time in YouTube when the audience will join the conversation. Give me just a few moments so I can say hello to everyone, and I'm going to share with you the biggest mistake that leaders make when they are trying to speak up for themselves, so that you do not make this mistake. Now, if you are new to me, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. My name is Dr. Jacinta, and if you are a subscriber, I appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you're back spending a few moments out of your day with me today. This channel heavily focuses on advanced communication skills and strategies, more of your executive communication skills that will help you be able to learn how to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. Now, I specifically work with women in leadership in terms of my executive coaching and consulting practice. However, if you are a man in leadership or someone that is not a leader just yet and you want to learn more about it, how to become a leader, I guarantee you will learn something from this channel. You will learn something that will help you communicate at a higher level than your peers. Now, why do people struggle as leaders with speaking up for themselves? Have you ever struggled with speaking up for yourself as a leader? Have you? Let me know in the comments below. The reason why people struggle with speaking up for themselves as leaders, because leaders by nature are the individuals that are dealing with a lot. And I want to know from you, if you've been a leader, have you ever dealt with a lot? I have. I put both my hands up, okay? I've dealt with a lot as a leader, and I know that you have too. Now, what happens oftentimes as leaders, we are the ones that are responsible for the big things, for a lot of challenges. The reason why leaders tend to struggle with speaking up for themselves is because we feel like as leaders, we should be the ones to figure it out. We are the ones that need to figure out this problem or this situation. And in the process of us figuring it out, sometimes we make this one mistake that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. But I want to say hello to those of you who have joined the live today. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about the biggest mistake that leaders make when speaking up for themselves. I want to know from you that are watching, have you ever struggled with speaking up for yourself as a leader? Have you? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you've ever struggled with speaking up for yourself as a leader, I'm going to share with you why leaders struggle with this so much and give you a strategy that will help you be able to speak up for yourself and not be afraid to do so. I want to say hello to Karima Hassan 851. Hello, Karima. Hope you're doing well today. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you've ever struggled with speaking up for yourself, this is a great place. This is a safe place. Let's talk about it. I will share with you over 20 years worth of experience, expertise that I have as a C-suite executive, a manager, a director. I've dealt with a lot of things, and this is a great place for you to learn as much as you can. I'm here to support you any way that I can on your journey. So if you struggle with speaking up for yourself, ask me anything. I'm here to really support you any way that I can. All right, so we have Crowny Pants. Hello, Crowny Pants. How you doing today? Let me know what part of the world you're all joining from today. We have the Yellow Kazoo. Hello, welcome, welcome. Some of you are new. Thank you for the heart emojis. I haven't seen you all before, so welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Karima Hassan 851 says you are so beautiful. Well, thank you, Karima. I appreciate that. And Crowny Pants says, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well, Crowny Pants. Let me know where you all are joining from today, and let me know, have you ever been afraid or worried to speak up for yourself as a leader? Let's talk about it. I'm going to make sure after this live today, you will feel in a much better position to make sure that you're not worried about speaking up for yourself. All right, so we have Pedro Estrada, G2K, says, OMG, hello, Pedro. Welcome, welcome. How you doing today? We have Jarrell 2-6. Jarrell, welcome. How you doing today? We have Jarrell says, sophisticated queen. Well, thank you, Jarrell. I appreciate that. Jarrell is from Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. Pedro Estrada says, it's been a long time. I have seen you. Well, welcome back, Pedro. Glad you're here today. Let's talk about it. If you've ever been a bit timid or shy to speak up for yourself as a leader, this is the best place for you to be at on YouTube. For those of you that are new, because many of you are new to me, and those of you who are returning, Pedro, hello, welcome back. This channel focuses on advanced communication skills and more of your executive communication skills as a leader. If you are trying to master learning how to communicate more concisely and more confidently when you are under pressure, this channel is the best place for you to be. Feel free to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up because it does allow it to go out to other people. There's a lot of other channels here on YouTube that talk about your basic communication skills. And if you're trying to do basic communication skills, I do touch upon that here on this channel. But this is for the individuals that are really trying to stand out. And the fact that you clicked on this video means you're supposed to be here, and I'm here to support you any way that I can. Now, as I mentioned, leaders by nature feel like we have to take care of everything. All things we have to take care of. And that's okay. But the mistake that leaders tend to make when they're trying to speak up for themselves is this. And you let me know if you have ever made this mistake, because I personally have made this mistake many times. The biggest mistake that leaders make when they're trying to speak up for themselves is to wait too long to speak up. Now, what do I mean specifically by wait too long? Just what I said, wait too long. Sometimes we think as leaders we can figure it out. And majority of times as leaders we can. Let me know if you ever felt just a bit timid about speaking up. Let me know. Let's talk about it in comments below. But a lot of times leaders are the ones that feel like we can figure things out. Like we don't want to necessarily ask for help. We don't necessarily want to, quote unquote, rock the boat. We know that there's office politics that happen in our workplace settings, whether you are a public official, whether you are a business owner, whether you are a senior VP or a manager or director or whatever your role is in an organization. We all know specifically that there's politics that are at play. And therefore, sometimes we decide to just stay quiet for a bit because we're not exactly sure how we should say it, what we should say, when we should say it. Am I presenting myself as someone that doesn't know what they're doing or what they're talking about? We have all of these thoughts in our mind, which is the reason why this is a big mistake, because we wait too long to say something. How many of you have ever been in a situation where you have been in a leadership role, or maybe you haven't been in a leadership role, where you have found yourself waiting too long, where you can reflect back on a situation and think about it and say, you know what? I should have said something about this a long time ago instead of waiting. How many of you have ever experienced that? Whether you're watching live or watching the replay, let me know in the comments below. I will very, very quickly raise my hand because I have been in those situations where I have waited way too long, and it was to my detriment. And I want you to all, as leaders, as women in leadership, or a man in leadership, know that this is the mistake that I do not want you to make. I want to see what's going on in the chat. We have Yee7. Hello, Yee. Hope you're doing well today. And they say you are stunning. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope that you learned something from the channel today. As I mentioned, leaders struggle with this because we are so worried about saying things at the wrong time. We are a bit more well-versed in office politics and we know what's going on. We have an idea. Now, what can you do to not make this mistake? And for those of you who are joining, welcome, welcome. We are talking about the biggest mistake that leaders make when they are speaking up for themselves. And that mistake is to wait too long to speak up for themselves. As leaders, we tend to carry everything in. We try to figure things out. And when something is going wrong, we are trying to figure it out and we believe that it's not the right time. We know about office politics. We know about if we say it to this person or that person, they may get upset, and we just wait too long. And then when it's time for us to speak up, it's too big of a snowball to deal with. What you can do, and what I want you all to think about and to consider in these situations so that you are not waiting too long, is the following. One, if you feel like you need to wait for a little bit to say something to someone, to speak up for yourself. Let's think of a strategy to help you not have to feel like you have to wait. For example, when I'm working with my clients that are women in leadership, we go through this scenario, and I'll share with you personally what I have done when I waited too late and what I did before when I actually came up with what I said specifically in this situation. But with my clients specifically that are women in leadership, and if you have found some information here and you know that you're in a more visible role, highly publicized position, and you know that there's a different level, that next level you need to reach and you need to accomplish, especially as you communicate, then reach out to me for a strategy session in the description below. I'll talk to you about some ways we can work together and I can support you. Now, what happens oftentimes is that we go into it, and the reason why we wait is because we do not have a plan. When you have a situation that's coming up and you know this situation is a sensitive topic and you need to advocate for yourself, you will need to have some form of a plan for the conversation when you have it. Let me give you an example. Many years ago, and I've shared this on my channel, and I have no problem sharing with you all the mistakes that I have made in hopes that you do not make them. Many years ago, when I was practicing as a dentist, I was working at an office, and in this office specifically, they said that they had some issues going on with payroll, supposedly. And I want to say hello to King JFT. Hello, hope you're doing well. It says sent $1. I don't have super fans just yet. I'm getting close to it though. Once I reach to 1,000 subscribers, I think I will be at that place. So I appreciate you being here, King JFT, and let me know where you're joining from today. But as I was mentioning, when I was practicing many years ago, there's a situation in the office where there was always issues with payroll. For instance, everybody would be paid but myself. And I didn't know exactly what was going on. I just knew that the dates that I was informed that I would receive a paycheck, I did not receive the paycheck on time. And it didn't happen at the very beginning. No. It happened a bit later after I'd been there for a while. And I noticed it and I asked a question, like, what's going on? And the office manager at the time would just tell me, oh, don't worry about it. Sorry, we got busy. I apologize for that. And so I didn't say anything about it initially. I didn't make a big fuss. I said, okay, it's like not a big deal. It's like a day or so later. But then it continued to happen. And I didn't say anything until it came to a point where this one instance specifically came up and I had a conversation about this topic. And I thought to myself, you know what? Something is not right here. Something is definitely not right with this situation. It's just not. I don't know exactly what's going on. Why are they not paying me and etc. Well, what happened is that I knew I was going to have to talk to them and tell them that, look, you did not pay me. I did not get paid. And I need my paycheck. I knew I was going to have that conversation. And so what did I do? I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I talked to my friend of mine a little bit about it, and this was my plan. So as I mentioned, you have to have a plan moving forward. Now, before I go into my plan, something came up in the chat, and I want to say hello. Zohab Saqib 123, welcome back. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Zohab Saqib 123 says, you are beautiful. You should run for a model. Well, and says hello. Well, thank you, Zohab Saqib. I hope you are doing fantastically well. And Zohab Saqib 123 says only 2 viewers. So at the moment, Zohab Saqib, as you know, with the lives, people come in and people come out. And so for those of you who may be new to YouTube and live streaming and joining, welcome. But what happens in a live stream, and this is just FYI for you all to know, many of you know that I'm on YouTube's live stream or research panel because I live stream so much. So I know these type of nuances that happen. So if you're watching the live stream, and this is individuals that are watching this portion more than likely might be watching the replay. What happens on the live stream is that YouTube has their live streaming tab. And when people start watching your live streams, they will literally push it out to other people. And so on the live stream, what you'll see is the icon. For those of you watching the replay, you can't see it, but it looks like a little person that says how many people are actually watching. So they will push it out, and sometimes you'll see it at 16 people, 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, 10 people, whatever the case may be. So that's YouTube actually pushing the live stream out to the users. Now what happens is that user count will go down because people will look at the live and they'll say, hey, I'm interested. No, I'm not. And then they will drop off. But what happens is when you see it fluctuate between 1 user, 2 users, 10 users, 13 viewers, I would say 14, 15, 20, is people coming in and coming out watching it. So you may only see 2 people viewing it, but that number may jump up to 4, it may jump up to 6, it may jump up to 10. It depends a lot of times on the duration of your live, what you're talking about. Does the audience want to learn about it, or do you have your subscribers coming back and following like Zahab Sequib 123, or do you have other individuals joining? That is the reason why there's fluctuation there. That's what happens on the live side of things. Now, after I finish with the live, and I know this is going into a little bit more detail, and then we'll get back into what I did for strategy to make sure I spoke up for myself. But what happens after the live stream ends is that it gets uploaded and people watch it. So you may see there's 3 people watching now, but you may see, once it's posted, you may see 66 views, 100 views, or etc. because it still is viewed even though it's a live stream. So hopefully Zahab Sequib 123 that gives you some insight in terms of the backside of YouTube. All right, Zahab Sequib 123 says, what are we talking about this live stream? Okay, we are talking about the biggest mistake that leaders make when they are speaking up for themselves. And the biggest mistake that leaders make when they are speaking up for themselves is that they wait too long to say something. What happens, Zahab, is that oftentimes leaders, just by nature, we are at the point where we know that we can figure things out, and we don't necessarily want to rock the boat or cause a problem because we are the leaders. We're supposed to figure it out. And most of the time what happens is we wait way too long to do that. And what I was sharing with the audience is a situation when I waited too long and it was directly impacting my pay. And so what happened specifically in my case is that I came in with a strategy, and this is the way to avoid this from happening. When you know you need to speak up for yourself, you need to advocate for yourself, there has to be some form of a strategy in place for you to have this conversation, some type of structure. And the one secret that I would share with you that would set you apart from everybody else, and remember, sometimes these situations may be difficult conversations, is to plan what could go well in this conversation and what could go wrong in this conversation. As long as you plan for the worst case scenario, you will either fall in with the best case, the worst case, or be in between. And that is a secret I will share with you that will help you when you need to advocate for yourself. Many people are afraid to do it. They're just like, oh, so scared as a leader because they don't have a plan. You have to have a plan in place. So Zahab Sequib says, how do you, let's see, okay, I believe you're saying, how do you know when is the best time to speak for you? Oh, you did say it. I know. Okay, thank you. So Zahab's question is, how do you know when is the best time to speak up for yourself? There's a couple of things in mind, Zahab. So Zahab, I believe I'm saying it correctly, that will let you know when you need to speak up for yourself. If it is causing you to be stressed out, if it is impacting your sanity, if it is impacting your finances, or if it is something that internally you feel like is not right, those are some really good indications that you need to speak up for yourself. So for example, I know you joined a bit later, so let me explain to you what I was saying in terms of what happened to me, and I'll go through it quickly for those of you who are already watching. I've had this happen many times in my career when I've waited to speak up, which is why I don't wait anymore. But in my scenario, the example I'm sharing with you is that I was working for someone and they kept having problems with their paychecks. Like everybody else would be paid, but I was not being paid. And it would always happen a day after payroll or 2 days after payroll, and then I would receive my check. I didn't say anything because I felt like I'm a leader in the practice. I'm practicing. I'm not going to rock the boat. But I waited and waited and waited until the point where it was actually a couple of days, and I had already asked for my check once, and the office manager basically ignored my question and did not pay me the following day. And I'm like, what's going on? So what happened specifically in my case, when I knew I needed to say something, because Zahab, this was impacting my pay. This was impacting my paycheck. And so this is an example of when you need to know, or how you can know when it's the best time to speak up for yourself. What did I do? I didn't just go into the office and say, oh, where's my check? What's going on? I didn't do that. I came up with a strategy before I even had a conversation about this issue. I had a plan, and this was my plan. And this may sound like a tough plan, but this was my plan. I decided the following. I've already waited for days. I've already asked to be paid. I'm going to go into work because I need my check. I could have easily said, you know what, I'm not going back to this place because they have not paid me. I didn't want to do that. I had to play it smart because at that particular time in my life, I did need that income. And I decided that I'm going to go to work and I'm going to basically demand my check in so many words, because I've already asked for it at least once or twice, and this office manager has not given it to me. Now, a very small piece of information for you to know, this office manager actually was embezzling money, which is the reason why my check was being delayed. But I found out about that after I left. But what I did was I went into the office and I sat down and I told the office manager in a polite way, I'm not seeing anyone until I receive my check. Straight face, no smile, no emotion. And so she hurried and scrambled, and people came in, asked me questions, telling me, oh, this person's here. Oh, we need you to see them. I said, I'm not seeing anyone until I'm not seeing anyone right now. I didn't even tell them I'm not seeing anyone because I haven't received my check. I felt like that was not appropriate. I just said, I'm not seeing anyone. What did I do? I received my check and I left. And I did not leave out of emotion, like I was overly emotional. I said, oh, I'm just leaving. No. I had this planned out before. I knew that I was going to get my check and I was going to leave and go cash it. And I was not coming back. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't do it out of emotion. No, I did it because I already had a plan. I knew that I wanted to cash the check and I'm leaving, because if I'm going to work at a place where they cannot compensate me for work I've already done, then why in the world am I there? So that was my plan. That's my strategy. That is what I want you all to learn. If you feel like you're a little worried about speaking up for yourself, then make sure you have a strategy in place so that you know exactly where this conversation is going to go. Okay, so Zahab says, what if some situations that you speak up for yourself turns out to be wrong to speak up? And Zahab says, just call me Zoe, by the way. Okay, Zoe, I will do that. I will remember that when you join next time. Now, okay, so let's talk about this. And if you have an example, Zoe, just let me know and we can walk through it today. So for those of you who just logged in, Zoe has a question that says, what if some situations that you speak up for yourself turn out to be wrong to speak up? Let's think about it. When could be a situation where you speak up for yourself and it might be wrong? It depends on the timing. If it is, I'll give you an example. And you, Zoe, if you can tell me maybe your example, and let's come up with a strategy for it. Sometimes if you speak up too fast, you may say things that are not entirely accurate. So an example of when you may speak up for yourself and it might be the wrong time to speak up is when you have not collected enough data on a specific situation. For example, if you're working in an organization or you're starting your business or you're doing another type of role as a leader, and you found that you've tried this one situation and you found that maybe you're working with a client and it just is not working out, if you say something too soon, you may lose the relationship with the client. I'll give you an example of this. I guess this is one of the best ones I can think of. many years ago, I was working with someone, and this person, for some reason, felt like they had to reach out to me at the last minute to schedule a session. Specifically, we were working together on a couple of projects, and I was working as an executive coach. So they would always contact me last minute, like the very last minute. Now, I could have easily said, look, you can't do that immediately the first time it happened, but I had to collect data first. I had to see, is this just a one-time issue where maybe something personal happened and they couldn't make it and then they had to schedule last minute, or is this an issue? And sometimes, though, if you do not collect at least enough data first, that may be that one time that you speak up for yourself, and it might be the wrong time to speak up because you just don't have enough information yet. I'm very big about collecting data, and that could be just the science part of me and just my background, but I need data. I have to have information in order for me to make a decision. And if you find yourself where something's happened once, and it depends on what that once is. If it's egregious enough, you have to handle it, then you by all means handle it, though. But you might need to collect some information first. You may need to see, is this person making this a repetitive issue? And you have to determine from your triggers that I talk about a lot of times on my channel in terms of specifically, what are your triggers? Now, for instance, though, in a situation, and I'm just going to make something up unless you have something for me to say. So let's say, though, you're in a situation where someone is being rude to you. Okay. This person is being rude. Now, before we go into when you should speak up to this person, Zoe, you have to know, what are you willing to deal with and what are you not willing to deal with? So that's before this situation happens. If you know what your triggers are, and you know that if somebody is rude to you, that will set you off and you're going to go from 0 to 100 like that, then you know rude people is something that is going to set you off and you need to speak up for yourself pretty quickly. Now, what you may want to do in this situation is determine, is this something that this person is expressing themselves in a way where they've had something happen to them, or maybe they're just rude. And some of the things that I would do to determine if I need to speak up for myself or say something or not, I would see and ask the person, how are things going for you? And just listen and see what they have to say. They may tell you, oh my gosh, Zoe, I've had the worst day. This has been so hard. My dog died, my cat died, my family member passed away, I lost my job. I don't know. I'm just making things up. But if they said that there's something that happened, then you know that maybe they haven't watched my YouTube channel number 1 to learn how to control their emotions under pressure. So you refer them to me for sure. But they may be just that person that's just not at your level yet, where you can communicate calmly even if you're frustrated. There's times when you need to show emotion. There's strategic ways we need to do that. But in this particular situation, let's say they're being rude and you know that there's something going on. Well, you were able to collect data. Therefore, if this happens again with this same person, Zoe, and they're rude to you, now you say, okay, the first time they were rude to me, something was going on. The second time they were rude to me, I don't like that, because there can't be something going on with you all the time. Maybe there is, and maybe there's people that are like that. But for me, that's when I would speak up for myself. I would say, okay, hold on just a moment. I can give you grace the first time. The second time, I'm going to need to say something. So a lot of it comes down to, you have to collect data, Zoe. Collect as much data as you can to determine, do you need to say something or do you not? And a lot of that will go based off of you internally in terms of what feels okay to you and what does not feel okay to you. If there's a situation, Zoe, that comes up that you want to talk about specifically, you know you're always welcome to talk about it, and let me know in the comments and I'll give you some more insight. But I would say just collect your data. Find out if this person or whatever the situation is this a one-time offense, or is this something that is a repeat issue? And if it is a repeat issue, then you need to say something about it. This is a time when you need to speak up. And I mentioned earlier, the times where you need to speak up is if it's something that's impacting your finances, if it's something that's impacting your peace, if it's something that's stressing you out, or if there's something ethically that you just feel internally like this is not right, that is the perfect time for you to speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself. I hope that gives you some perspective in terms of when you need to speak up for yourself. I could talk about this all day because a lot of it comes down to communication and how do you communicate yourself? How do you advocate for yourself? What do you say specifically when you need to advocate for yourself? I've talked about this sometimes on my YouTube channel. There's a couple videos about that specifically. And if you happen to be a woman in leadership and you're struggling with advocating for yourself, then let me know. Contact me for a strategy session. Let's talk about where you are and where you want to be. There is a service I have called an executive communication analysis. This, by far, if you have ever struggled with how you communicate, you're not sure if your message is getting across, and you don't know what it is you're doing that is preventing you from really being able to move forward, it is a the most detailed customized analysis that you will ever receive as it relates to how you communicate. It will change your life. So if you want some more information about that, take a look at my website at exciteexcellence.org and look at products and services, or talk to me, or just schedule a strategy session where we'll talk about where you are and if it will help you. So Zoe says, what if someone who has an overload of emotions and cannot control themselves? Should you be speaking up or just be supportive? Well, in a situation like that, it depends on what the context is with this person. So we'll address it two ways though. And I appreciate you mentioning that because that's really a very, very good question. If you have someone that has an overload of emotions and they can't control themselves, there's a reason why they're acting that way. And it's not for you necessarily to figure it out unless it's a loved one and someone you're in a relationship with or something like along those lines. But sometimes people are that's just how they are. That's just how they are. And so how do you manage it? Now, if you need to speak up, meaning you need to speak up, and let's say, and I'm throwing stuff out there, Zoe, let's say this person has an overload of emotions, as you said, and they can't control themselves because someone else is being mean to them. Well, you may want to speak up and say, well, why do you let this person treat you this way or have this conversation? It just depends. But what I've found a lot of times when you are interacting with people that are just highly emotional people, it is best for you just to be supportive and listen. Why? This is a secret, and I'm sharing this with you just from my past 20 years dealing with very highly emotional people. As a C-suite, as a director, as an executive coach, as a public speaker, I'm sharing with you a secret. And this may be contrary to what you may think, but I'm sharing this to you I just want you just to get the best out of life. When you have people that are overly emotional like that, listening is helpful and being supportive. Sometimes you may not need to say anything. And the reason why sometimes I do not say things with highly emotional people is because, one, I'm protecting my boundaries. Now, Zoe, I know you've been with the channel for a while, and you know we had a long month of boundaries. We talked about the boundaries you want to maintain: your time, your energy, your money, your personal, and your professional boundaries. We talked about those boundaries at length. For those of you watching, check out the entire month of December if you want to. Just check out my live tab, and you'll see a lot of videos about boundaries. But why do I say this? Sometimes, though, you don't want to say anything when someone is just going off on their emotions. You just need to listen to where they are, because they will tell you a bit more in terms of really what's bothering them. So just be supportive. Sometimes just be supportive is helpful, and sometimes you have to protect your boundary too. So if you happen to be that person that is not highly overload of emotions like that, when you're dealing with people that are like that, it literally will just drain your energy. And so you have to set boundaries for yourself when you have those conversations, because you can have a discussion with somebody and they just overload on their emotions. And then after you leave the conversation, how do you feel? Like, oh my gosh, wow, that was a long conversation. And that's okay, especially if you're in a leadership role, you're going to deal with that. Welcome to the wonderful world of leadership. We deal with this all the time. But there's ways you can protect yourself. If you keep quiet and you just listen and be supportive when they're overloading their emotions, then it's an opportunity for you to control what you have to say and to control your engagement in the conversation. Now, I know this is definitely more of an advanced type of skill, and I say this because I've dealt with situations like that. Just because someone decides they have to just overload their emotions on you and they can't control themselves, that doesn't mean it needs to impact you specifically. It doesn't mean it needs to do that. So Zoe says, okay, I got to go pray. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad you are here, and thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have an absolute amazing day, and I will call you Zoe next time I see you on the live. So I appreciate you being here. But Zoe really asked a really great question. You don't have to let people dictate how you feel. If someone's overly and highly emotional to you, do not let that emotion suck your energy away or drain your energy away, because it will do it. And the way you protect yourself and protect your boundaries is by staying quiet and just listening and being very, very supportive to them. If you engage in the conversation, then your emotions could have been let's say, for example, for visual purposes only, this person is way up here. Okay, this person is way up here. They're loud, they're crying, their emotions are everywhere, they're all over here, up here. If you stay calm down here, then you will maintain yourself and your energy and your personal boundaries so that you don't have to bring yourself down. You're already at that level. However, if you start interacting with this person and they're highly emotional way up here and you're like, no, that's not right, I don't know why you did that. Yeah, this is so stressful. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to you. I can't believe it happened to me also. This is what's going on. Do you see what I'm doing with my hands? Even though I know it may look a little bit ridiculous, but I'm showing with you what happens in real time when you are engaging with someone that is highly emotional and you go there too. Remember, this person was already up here. They were already up here already. Their emotions were already overloaded. And you were down here. Guess what happened? They just got you and grabbed you and brought you up to where they are. And that is not how you protect your boundaries. As a leader, that is not how you protect your energy. You have to be the person that can maintain and be calm and not let the other person bring you up high to their overly emotional state or bring you really far down too. You want to be very consistent in terms of how you are communicating and stay at that even level. Don't go up here, leaders, and you don't need to go down here either, especially if you're a woman in leadership. You just got to be mindful of where you are. Whether you're a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, you have to be really mindful. Sometimes in our world, just depending on how you communicate, you may feel like you just need to go there. And if it's a friend, then fine, that's your friend. But if you are in a professional setting, you want to be very, very mindful in terms of how you communicate. I hope the visual that I just showed to you resonates with you in a very deep way, because this is the reason why leaders tend to struggle when they communicate with their teams. Feel free to watch the replay if you're just joining, but I did a visualization in terms of what happens to answer Zoe's question when someone is overly emotional and you're having to interact with them. So I wanted to say hello to Desti Sanusi 5068 says, hi, I'm back. Well, welcome back, Desti. Hope you're doing well today. We have talked at length about the biggest mistake that leaders make when they are trying to speak up for themselves. And Desti, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, just because I know you are coming back to the channel. The biggest mistake that leaders make when they're trying to speak up for themselves is that they wait too long to speak up. And I want you all to not make that mistake. We went over a couple scenarios. Well, one scenario that happened to me personally when I waited too long, and I shared with you what I did. But the strategy, the key to making sure that you do not wait too long is to, one, collect data. Zoe had a really great question about this specifically. And so sometimes it's a balance. Do you need to speak up right now, or do you need to speak up later? The only way you can make that determination and be more discerning about it is if you have data. You have to collect data. You have to see, is this an issue that is a one-time offense, or is this an ongoing problem with this person, with this team, with this organization, with this business? What is it? It could be a series of things. Also, having a plan in place for your conversation is very important also. Have some type of strategy. The best strategy that I share with you all here on my YouTube channel is when you go into conversations, have a plan A, a B, and a C. A is everything goes well. B is things do not go as well as you like for them to. They go into worst case scenario. And C is the happy middle, where things just worked out and they're not great, they're not bad, they're okay. If you take a moment and think of your options before you have this conversation, when you speak up for yourself, it will empower you to speak up for yourself because you already have a plan. Many leaders, even though we are leaders and we are strategists, and I'm a leadership strategist or communication strategist rather, we don't go into conversations with a very clear plan, and that's why we tend to struggle. I hope this information has been somewhat helpful to you in this particular live. If you want to receive some more support and you're a woman in leadership, reach out to me for a strategy session. If you are especially going to be in a highly visible role, you need to know how to advocate for yourself. Too many women leaders really struggle with this, and a lot of it comes down to some very deep issues that we experience as women, and I know about it. I've dealt with them. And so if you are at a point where you know you're kind of wrestling with something, you're not moving forward the way you want to move forward, then contact me. Let's work together. Let's talk about it. Let's get you where you need to be. If you are a man in leadership and you're thinking about leadership, it's important to advocate for yourself, because if you don't advocate for yourself as a leader, whether you're a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, you will struggle. There will be situations that come up that will be overwhelming to you, and you will feel like, I don't know what to do, and things will get to a boiling point where it's just past the level where you can actually handle it, and you don't want that to happen to yourself as a leader also. There's a lot of videos that will help you. The number one video I would recommend for you to watch in addition to this video is a video that talks about controlling your emotions or managing your emotions under pressure. This is so important. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this live, friends, there are so many videos, so many channels out here that talk about communication, say this, say that. But what is lacking that I have noticed on YouTube, and just in general as it relates to being a leader and communicating at a higher level, is that people forget what happens when you're under pressure. That's where I come in. That's why I have my channel. I am not here to share with you how to be that person that can speak well when you have everything planned out, when you have everything rehearsed, and you have everything memorized. I'm the person, I'm the executive coach, the consultant that will show you how to speak under pressure when someone challenges you, when someone asks you a question in your presentation for Q&A and you had no idea how to respond. I will show you how to be able to buy yourself time when you don't know what to say. That's what I'm here for. That's my expertise. That is a gap that I'm seeing here on YouTube, and that's why I'm here to support you any way that I can. Feel free to check out some of those videos. Controlling your emotions under pressure, having difficult conversations, your facial expressions and your eye contact are really important when you're trying to speak up for yourself. We didn't go into a lot of detail on that today specifically because I could talk about that all the time. I have a lot of videos that talk about that. So this is a great opportunity for you to learn as much as you can. I know it's hard out there being a leader. As a woman in leadership or as a man in leadership, I know it's hard. But it doesn't have to be so challenging if you have some support and you have a strategy and you have a plan. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm here to support you. If you have topics or situations, just like Zoe mentioned earlier, that you're dealing with, you're struggling with, let me know in the comments below on any of my videos. Put your situation in there if you feel comfortable doing so. I will give a video just for you or record a video for you. And if you're not comfortable putting it on the comments, you're welcome to reach out to me at Excite Excellence on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, but I'm mostly on LinkedIn and Instagram. And you're also welcome to contact me at Dr. Jacinta Lamantai on LinkedIn as well. This is where I am. This is where I'm here to support you. contact me. You do not have to go through these challenges by yourself and not have a sounding board to help you, give you some insight, or a third party that doesn't know your situation to give you a unique perspective in terms of where you want to be. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to support you any way that I can, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.